A story of manipulation. This involves OP, who's a female and pregnant, and how toxic her relationship actually is. So, let's get right to it. I've been married for 5 years, and this is my second pregnancy. I took the test yesterday, and I think I'm about 6 weeks. I had a late miscarriage last time, and the pregnancy was awful. I was very sick. I did not want to be pregnant. My husband found the test, and when I told him I don't want to be pregnant, he said he will not give his permission to get an abortion, and it's fraud for me to get one without him. If I try to leave, he'll have me arrested for kidnapping. He said I do not have a valid reason to not want to be pregnant anymore. I've been wanting to leave for some time now and go back to stay with my parents. I cannot use any of the money in the bank for this because they're joint accounts and I don't have any husband permission. However, I also have a debit card from a joint account with my mom that my husband doesn't know about. My questions are, number 1, is my account with my mom also marital property that I could get in trouble for using without his permission? Number 2, how likely is it that I'll get in trouble if I go to NH, where my parents live, from Kentucky, where I live now, and lie and say I don't know who the father is, so I can get an abortion? I know it may be illegal, but I'm willing to risk it. I can't handle this. Update number 1. Hi everyone, I want to take a minute and just say thank you. All the people who gave me advice and words of encouragement. I read every single comment on both threads about my situation, and I really appreciate the support and help. If not for the advice in the comments, I probably would not have felt justified in leaving. I'm sorry for taking so long to post, but I'm now back home in New Hampshire with my parents. I feel like I'm coming out of a fog, and I feel really stupid for believing everything. I guess I just justified it by assuming laws were different in the South. I left with just my computer, my phone, my documents, and a few family heirlooms. I'm not concerned about my phone being tracked, as I'm still on my dad's phone plan. My husband has sent me 200 text messages, filled my voicemail completely full, but I haven't spoken to him. I managed to withdraw half the balance of 2 of our 3 joint accounts. The third is a local bank, and I did not want to stay in there any longer. My parents told me to just leave the money. They're going to help me get the medical procedures I need, and then they're going to help me pay for a divorce attorney. I thought they would say I told you so because they told me not to get married, but they've been very supportive and even offered to pay for me to go back to college and finish my degree. Thank you again for all your kind words. Update number 2. Hey everyone, I'm not sure if anyone remembers my first post, which I made almost a year ago, but I wanted to come back and update because I got a few private messages, and I just officially finalized my divorce. I've got back to New Hampshire, got the medical procedure I needed, and finished up my last few college credits. I finally moved out of my parents' house, and I'm starting a career in September. Thanks to my lawyer, I only had to go back to Kentucky twice to finalize my divorce. I only saw my ex then and when he showed up at my parents' building right after I left. I only saw him for a minute before he got kicked out. He refused to sign the papers and contested me every step of the way for a while. I know this isn't the ideal solution, but I let him have basically everything in the divorce just to keep him from drawing it out. That's basically it. My life's back on track and I feel like I'm out of a fog. I want to thank you all again for the advice, which helped me get the ball rolling initially and kept me staying in a miserable situation. Thank you all again. A lot of people were talking in the comment section, and they were trying to figure out how many of people are in OP's position that does not have a support system like OP had with her parents. Yeah, that's a pretty scary thing to think about. Well, I'm just glad that things are turning around. It does suck that OP lost everything in the divorce, but at least she was able to get her life back on track. What do you guys think of that? Drop it down below. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, just know, it helps me out so much and it's the best way to help support me. All you have to do is take a second right now and click that subscribe button beneath us. Thank you so much for that, and we're going to turn our attention to the final story of the video. OP caught his wife letting the neighbor rub lotion all over her pregnant belly. This literally happened this morning. I'm posting it here and hoping to vent and maybe get some perspective, because I've been extremely upset all day and can't process this productively. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our child. We live next to another married couple who are in their late 30s. I don't like the guy. I found him to be invasive and a weird type of friendly that almost seems to be prying and clingy. I'm not sure if that's clouding my judgment here or if this validated my beliefs about him. Well, I left for work, decided on the way there that I just wasn't feeling it, and called off sick. I stopped for breakfast before heading home to surprise my wife. 40 minutes tops. I get home, enter from the back door, and here's my wife and my neighbor sitting in our living room on the couch. She's turned toward him, fully clothed, but with her shirt pulled up over her very pregnant stomach, while he, facing her, is rubbing lotion on her stomach with both hands. They both froze before my wife asked how come I was back, and then said, oh, he just stopped by to borrow the toolbox while I was moisturizing and wanted to know if he could fill the baby. So I said okay. I told him to get out before I put him out, and he left immediately. I tried to stay calm and talk to her and get the whole story. Neighbor's wife is apparently infertile. First I heard of it, which is amazing considering the guy never shuts up about his personal woes. And he wanted to feel the baby. That's her story and she's sticking to it. That's not good enough for me though. My thought process is there's a big freaking difference between feeling a baby for 10 seconds and coming into our home and rubbing lotion on my wife's stomach. If it was some close friend of ours, I might understand, but I dislike this guy already, and my wife has never expressed any sort of closeness to him, aside from passing pleasantries. And she's not the type to let anyone she isn't close to put their hands on her. So, in the span of a day, the guy goes from being a distant acquaintance of hers, at best, to her deciding to invite him in and let him rub her up. I also find it convenient that he showed up that early, right after I went to work. Fairly short after his own wife left for work, and he's never come over asking to borrow anything of mine before. Yet, 9:30 in the morning, he urgently needs a toolbox? I don't believe my wife. This is the first time my trust in her hasn't been strong enough. I don't believe her story because it makes no sense. When I told her I'd be mentioning this to his wife, she was adamant I don't, and to quote, not make more than what it is. If it was innocent, what more is there to make? And even if nothing is more going on, I'm not okay with what I've seen. I'm not okay with him rubbing my unborn child in my home without me there. I know it's her body and her choice, but I'm not okay with this. It'd be one thing to feel the baby kick, but he was sitting reclined comfortably on our sofa, rubbing lotion on her with both hands leaned into their private conversation. Ugh. I'm trying really hard to figure out how to express the fact I don't believe her story without causing stress that would be dangerous for our baby. I don't want to fight or pick one with her at this stage of pregnancy. But at the same time, my mind is spinning. I'm not cool with what happened. Any advice would be muchly appreciated. Okay, Mr. Reddito here, guys. This story is getting more insane by the minute. There's 2 updates for this. We're going to dive in the first update. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please take a second right now to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for that, as it deeply helps support the channel. Here's update number 1. I read all through your replies and spoke to friends and stewed for a day. My wife stuck to her story, apologized for making me uncomfortable, and assured me it would never happen again. The dude decided to leave a handwritten note in the mailbox, specifically apologizing as well. I still did not feel better, and the consensus was that I should speak to my neighbor's wife, who we're going to call Sally. So that's what I did. Watched my neighbor leave for work, then called my mother-in-law to come take my wife for a lunch and a girls' date so she could get out of the house. I left as usual for work, called off again, and went to stay with a friend. Got a text from my wife around noon, telling me she was with mother-in-law and would be back by dinner. Went home and knocked on Sally's door. The dude decided to tell Sally I kicked him out and caused a scene about not wanting either of them speaking to us anymore, because I was mad about him helping my wife. Come to find out, both Sally and him have been going over to my house while I was busy for the past few weeks, as my wife had approached her and asked if they would be willing to lend a hand with chores that she could no longer do. Sometimes Sally went over and did small tasks or just hung out, sometimes both. Sometimes it was just him though. Wife told her I knew and was fine with it, and that's why she was confused when her husband told her this bullcrap about me being mad. She showed me where she texts my wife, and has her number, not mine, to clarify, and asked if she was welcome over. And my wife hasn't replied, and since I don't often see Sally or socialize with him, she just assumed her husband was telling the truth. She also admitted that she noticed him and my wife becoming fast friends, and figured it was due to the pregnancy, but thought it was his way of dealing with her own inability to have children, so she wrote it off. I told her what I walked in on. I told her about the tools, which ended up being lies. Came to the same conclusion, and we both cried. Both hugged for the first time. Both took turns denying and accepting and talking each other down. Took a walk around the block together and conspired. She planned to call his work and say that my wife messaged her, confessing of the two of them having an affair, and see what happened. Went back to my friends, started having a major panic attack, thinking I ducked up. I was about to ruin my marriage, worrying I might be wrong. But later, I get a call from my wife screaming at me to find a way to leave work and come home. So I go home. The dude's calling her, telling her what Sally told him. She told me I was crazy, I was a piece of crap, that she was considering leaving me. Having a panic attack thinking I just ruined my entire life over nothing, while also trying to calm her down for the baby's sake. Impulsively told her that if she was leaving, I'd still be requesting a DNA test. And that's when it all came down. Entire tone changed, pleading, begging, apologizing, and hyperventilating while holding me, asking me how I found out while denying anything happened. I told her it'd be okay and asked if she'd talk to me if we went for a drive. She agreed, took us to a parking lot, and we talked. Told her if there was any chance of anything happening, she needed to tell me what was happening because I already knew so much. She ducked him a handful of times before she was pregnant. Our baby might not be ours. He's been coming by and doing daddy duties once in a blue moon in case it's his. They haven't slept together in months, and she said we could move away, that it's ours no matter what, that he had manipulated her. Admitted she lied to Sally to justify his going over for daddy duties. I asked her if she'd stay with mother-in-law for a few days while I just tried to calm down. She agreed, took her home, packed up some stuff, and dropped her off. I've cleaned out my essentials and I'm in a friend's basement. Friend called her on my behalf and told her that if the baby's mine, I'll be dealing with it. If it isn't, it's on her. But either way, I'll be filing for divorce. My friend took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends, and friends told her to duck off. I spoke to my boss, and he's been very understanding. Last I heard from Sally, this dude had not been home and stopped responding to her calls and text messages. I have nothing left. In less than a week, my life has fallen apart. The only thing keeping me here is the small chance that the baby is mine. I have nothing else. I woke up today disappointed that I woke up at all. I've never felt this alone, and I have not accepted any of it yet. I'm praying for the first time in my life that I can stop feeling this way and just find some strength. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, third and final update. Extremely long story made slightly less long. A week after my last update, my soon-to-be ex-wife had our child, which I was at the hospital for. I'm the father. The first few weeks after my last update were extremely difficult, with family, friends on both sides adding to the drama. Thankfully, I've had an overwhelming amount of support from not only the vast majority of people I know in my life, but from all of you as well. My wife and I agreed to sit down and discuss things after she was discharged. In my friend's basement with my friend upstairs in case I needed support. She came over and we basically said everything we needed to say. I exploded and said a lot of mean stuff. Most of which I regret, some I don't. She spent the whole time apologizing and begging me to take her back and give our family a chance to survive everything that happened. Went on for about an hour like this until I accepted that there was nothing left to say. I have zero romantic love for her anymore. And she accepted that we need to focus on our daughter above all else. We're agreeing to figure out a custody split amicably, and to eventually co-parent more actively together when wounds do heal. But our marriage is over. She has the potential to be a wonderful mother, but she failed me as a wife. And my sole focus right now is how to get myself mentally to where I need to be, the best father possible. We plan to eventually sell the home, but right now I'm staying in an apartment. Sally is leaving the dude. He's apparently staying with his mother and still refuses to speak to Sally directly. According to her, the last thing that was passed along to her is that he understands what he did. He's sorry that he hurt her, he loves her, and will not contest a divorce. She's struggling to handle everything and lacks a support system. So we're developing a friendship. Mostly two wounded people leaning on each other, and I'm doing my best. She plans to start therapy too, and no, I don't plan to be anything more than platonic friends with Sally. Lovely woman, but no. I still haven't fully processed my new role as a parent. I think mentally I already convinced myself my child would not be mine in case it ended up that way. I plan to take classes and spend more time with my daughter doing early bonding. I'm terrified, but very happy. I know there's a lot left to do and a lot of hurting left to go through. But I'm stable, and I'm a dad. That's what matters the most. Yeah, I'm sorry to say I saw it coming a mile away. You don't go about belly rubbing at 9:30 in the morning if there's not something else seriously going on. Guys, did you think that was a huge red flag and you knew right away? If you did, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you want some more stories, check out the channel. There's hundreds of them. Have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. And just remember, if there's something that you've always wanted to try, just do it. If it's something that you're trying to accomplish, I know you can do it. It's cool to be kind. I'll see you guys tomorrow.